Hello, welcome to what we call our storeroom. If you haven't caught up with my recent videos, first I painted on a damp-proof membrane onto the floor, which will hopefully resolve a mold issue that we had in here. Then I installed insulated plasterboard to this wall behind me, which will hopefully resolve any future issues with condensation. But this particular video is going to be all about the floor. It's a concrete floor, and when we moved in it wasn't in the best shape. It was really pitted and I had to do quite a lot of concrete repairs just to try and get the floor somewhat flat again. And the first thing I'm going to do in here is just offer up my long level just to see how flat it is. There are some voids in some areas, but nothing more than 4 or 5 millimeters, I would say. So I think we're going to be okay to lay the flooring that I have in mind straight on top of this. The first job is going to be to install some of this underlay, and the main reason for that is it's going to iron out some of those inconsistencies and make the floor a little bit more flat. It also has some thermal insulation properties, so it should serve to take the chill off this cold concrete surface a little bit. And it's water resistant, so if there are any more issues with damp on this floor, which there shouldn't be in future anyway, but it's good to know. This stuff is called fiberboard and it's a wood-based product. It looks similar to hardboard actually, but it's much softer and you can cut it with a knife. I got some aluminium foil tape to secure the underlay together, my first time working with this stuff, and I discovered straight away that it has a tendency to curl up when you tear a piece off, so from here on I changed my technique a bit. You do need to allow a minimum of 1 to 2 millimeters between each of these boards and 5 millimeters around the perimeter for expansion and contraction, although you'll see that I've left a bigger gap around the edge than that. There was something about using this foil tape that I found highly addictive. I don't know why, but applying it was just really satisfying. So much so that I went a bit overboard with it, to be honest. I even used it around the edge of the boards for some reason. Don't ask me why. Maybe I'm still paranoid about moisture. I don't know. It's also recommended to stagger the joints between boards on each row, so that's why I'm laying them in a brick pattern. Right, I just had a bit of a count up, and because I ordered an extra pack of the underlay just to make sure I had enough if there were any big undulations in the floor, but I've actually just got enough to lay a second layer on top, so I think I'm going to do that. Seeing as I've bought it already, I may as well use it. I had to rein myself in on the tape usage here because I had only bought 2 rolls to do the whole room. Right, so that's about as much as I can get down with all of this junk in the way, and I've got nowhere else to put all of this junk, so I'm going to move on to laying my flooring on top of this. But yeah, this stuff went down really quickly and easily, and it was really quite enjoyable to do as well. My flooring of choice for a space like our storeroom are these interlocking 100% recycled vinyl PVC tiles. You might recognise these from one of my previous videos, as I used exactly the same flooring in my workshop about a year ago. This isn't a sponsored video, but in the interest of being completely transparent with you, I paid for these tiles with my own money, but I am an affiliate of the supplier. And that means 2 things. Firstly, I did receive a discount on my order, and secondly, I have a promo code that you can use if you're interested in buying either these or any other product from the supplier. The promo code is Rag and Bone, and if you use that at checkout, you will get a 5% discount off all goods, and I will earn a small commission which helps to support my channel. More details and a link to the products will be in the description box below. So here are 7 reasons why I'm a big fan of these tiles. 1. As you can see, they are incredibly easy and quick to fit, just using a mallet to lock them together. 2. As it's a floating floor, i.e. not fixed down to the subfloor, there's no need to work out the best spacings for the tiles. Instead, you can just put some together and then reposition them to determine the best position, and then figure out your cuts like I'm doing here. 3. They are easy to cut with power tools. I'm using the plunge saw for all of the straight cuts. You can actually cut these with a sharp knife as well, but it is a much slower process doing it that way. Oh, and by the way, with these tiles, a 7mm gap around the edge is recommended. 4. They are incredibly hard wearing and durable, so for the heavy racking that we're going to be installing into this room, there'll be no issues whatsoever. In my previous video about these tiles, I did some testing using a hammer and chisel, and I also did some tests with various oils and stains, and they handled all that incredibly well. I'll leave a link to that video below if you want to check it out. 5. They have a non-slip coating. 6, they are really easy to keep clean with just a broom and a mop. And 7, apparently they can cope with rolling weights of up to 38,250 kilograms. So a car driving over them is no issue whatsoever, and they'll easily handle anything we want to use them for. Right, so back to completing the 2 layers of underlay, and we have this vent in the floor which I need to make a cutout for. I think this vent is just to allow air to pass through under the floorboards which are on the other side of this wall. And I'm just going to mark out the shape I want for the floor tile and cut it with the jigsaw. We've got our boiler in the corner of the room too, so we need to make cutouts for that and for a few other areas too. I removed the door at this point because that's going to need to be adjusted to allow for the new floor height, and also it was much easier to mark up the cuts without the door in the way. Right, so that's the floor all done. Next I'm going to move on to laying some skirting boards to hide the transition between the floor and the wall. And I do have a slight problem here. I bought enough skirting boards to do the whole room, but I've got a bit of an issue. Let me show you. Along this pebble dashed wall, there's an area where the wall juts out, and I have no idea what is behind here. Either way, I'm not going to take this off to find out. And it sticks out from the wall by about 55 millimeters. First I'm going to use my laser measure to measure the wall that I want to start with, and then I did a quick diagram with all of the dimensions. These skirting boards I bought are MDF and they're pre-primed, so they just need a top coat of paint. I cut each piece to length with my circular saw, and 1 or 2 of the boards I cut slightly longer as some of them will need to be scribe fitted, and I get all these painted with some satin white paint. The first board is the easiest to fit. I'm just using some grab adhesive to glue it in place, and it can go straight in. But for the boards that butt up to existing, I use my compass to scribe the shape and then cut with the jigsaw to get it fitting nicely against the existing. And this will look even cleaner once it's touched up with paint later. For the end of the board near the doorway, I'm going to mark for length and then cut a little 45-degree return for it, just to finish off the exposed end. I'm using some epoxy to glue it in place. By far the most fiddly and time-consuming area was this bit around the brick pillar because the brickwork was so uneven. But again, a bit of caulk and paint and it'll look fine later. Then Mickey popped in to let me know it was dinner time. And for the last board, I decided just to shape it so that it butts up to that protrusion in the wall using my Shinto rasp. A tool that doesn't get used very often, but I'm very pleased that I have it. And then it's back with the caulk and the paint touch-ups just to clean everything up. So that's the floor done and I'm really chuffed with it. Actually, I kind of wish that when I installed this same flooring to my workshop that I put 2 layers of underlay underneath that too, because it makes the floor have a little bit of a bounce to it. And I just think it'd be much easier on the feet and legs when you're standing up all day. The underlay went down in a couple of hours and then the flooring took probably another 2.5 hours or so. And then the skirting boards was the fiddly bit really, so that took about 3.5 hours. Next it was off to chopping a bit off the bottom of the door, and as you'll see it was completely hollow at the bottom. So I actually cut a piece of pine to glue in there just to strengthen it. This is a really flimsy, poor quality door by the way, but it'll do for now. I actually quite liked the old Art Deco handle on it though, but it was very pitted and it didn't work properly, so sadly it's going in the bin. I'm giving the old paint a thorough sanding so that the new paint will adhere to it properly. And this satin white paint is going to freshen things up nicely. Then I can fit the new handle and rehang the door. So that's the storeroom all finished, and the main reason for sorting it out is because I wanted to make space for this, our cross trainer, which was previously in our spare room. But we're having a bit of a clear out in our spare room for reasons which will become apparent in a future video. So I've got this area set up to make all of my handmade oil wax finishes, which are available on my Etsy store. Nice to have all of this stuff nicely organised. Down here I've got some of my concrete and groundwork tools. This cut-off saw at the front will be used in a video coming soon to the channel. And I've got my gardening tools hung up here at the end of the rack. And this is now a much nicer space to be in. Hopefully it'll be a little bit warmer too. The work isn't completely finished though. I still need to sort out the electrics, which are a real mess. But for now, I'm pretty happy with it. Don't forget, if you want to check out the flooring, then I'll leave links in the description box below. And obviously I still have that discount code open to anyone to use. Thank you for watching.